The bridge of the Imperial dreadnought Vigilance thrummed with a steady pulse of machines and murmured orders. Positioned on the outer rim of Imperial-controlled space, it was supposed to be a routine patrol. Nothing moved out here, just stars and silence. Yet Lieutenant Kasik's fingers hovered, trembling slightly over his console. The quiet was broken. "Commander," Kasik said, eyes fixed on the monitor. "We've got something inbound." Commander Yulan didn't look up. "Define something." "No IFF beacon, no transponder, no heat sig that matches known drives. It just appeared at the edge of our detection range. It's accelerating. Fast." Yulan straightened, walking briskly to Kasik's station. "Show me." The holographic display flickered, rendering a point of bright blue light against a grid of stars. The light moved. No, it jumped. It blurred past the edge of their long-range sensors in a way that shouldn't have been possible without tearing space itself. "How fast?" Yulan asked, voice low. "Roughly 0.3 C, Kasik replied. "Sustained." That wasn't just fast, that was insane. Even Imperial courier ships didn't push those speeds in real space. Yulan's brow furrowed. "Vessel design?" she demanded. "No match in the core registry or border logs. Nothing like it in any Imperial-class architecture. It's angular, asymmetrical, almost like the hull's grown instead of forged. We've scanned twice, still no ID." Yulan tapped her comms. "Bridge to Admiral Saros. Sir, you need to see this." Within moments, the Admiral appeared on the bridge, stoic, silver-haired, and skeptical. "This had better be more than a rogue asteroid, Commander." Yulan gestured to the projection. "Unidentified vessel, no registry, traveling at relativistic speeds, straight toward us." Saros narrowed his eyes. "Are you suggesting something slipped through the entire outer defense grid without triggering an alert?" Kasik answered before Yulan could. "It didn't slip through, sir. It wasn't there. Then it was. No jump signature, no warp residue, it just arrived." A tense silence fell, the kind that crept in before something breaks. "Put the fleet on alert," Saros barked. "Raise shields, charge batteries. Hey, if this story hooked you even a little, smash that subscribe button also. Like this video and share to others. This is just the beginning. I've got more chapters, twists, and human badassery on the way. Don't miss it. Seriously. If this is a test from the Coalition, they'll regret it." The crew sprang into action. Warnings blared. Auto-targeting systems came online. Fighters launched into formation like hornets from a hive. Still, the vessel came closer. Yulan's heart pounded as she stared at the scans. "It's not slowing down. Estimated contact in less than 4 minutes." Kasik turned toward her, pale. "It just broadcasted something." Saros leaned in. "From what channel?" "No known frequency. It piggybacked on our own intra-fleet band, like it was already tuned in." Yulan's fingers danced across the interface. A voice filtered through the speakers, low, clear, almost melodic, distorted by time and distance. One phrase repeated over and over. "We're back." The words sent a chill through the bridge. Saros froze. "Origin language?" Kasik looked up slowly. "Old Earth Standard, ancient, pre-Empire dialect." Saros laughed once, bitter and short. "Impossible. Humanity went extinct 2 centuries ago. They never left their cradle." Yulan whispered, "Then what's that?" On screen, the vessel now loomed large enough to make out surface detail. It was unlike anything Imperial sensors had ever encountered. Its hull shimmered like liquid metal, folding and unfolding in fractal layers. No visible weapons, no engine flare. Just motion. Impossible, silent motion. "It's not matching any known physical profile," Kasik said. "It doesn't even reflect scans properly. The data keeps changing." Saros clenched his fists. "I want boarding craft ready. I want to know who's piloting that ghost." But before orders could be dispatched, the ship halted. Dead stop. No deceleration burn, no drift. Just stopped, 300 kilometers from the Vigilance's bow. Close enough to see the faint lights moving under its skin like blood through veins. A new signal came through, visual this time. A figure, human-shaped, stood in a chamber of light. Pale eyes, silver hair. Not old, timeless. Their voice echoed through the bridge. "You stand upon the ashes of forgotten stars," the figure said. You've built your empire atop bones you never cared to know. We remember, and we are returning." Then the feed cut. The bridge sat in stunned silence. Even Saros didn't speak. Kasik's console beeped again. "Sir, we've got another contact. Same class, same signature, and another behind it. And another." Yulin turned, her voice barely audible. "How many?" Kasik looked up. "Hundreds, no, thousands. All emerging from dark zones. All heading toward the core." Saros's voice was tight. "Sound the alarm. Get me Central Command. Now." As Klaxon screamed and the dreadnought braced for what was to come, the words echoed in their minds. "We're back." The stars outside the viewport of the Aegis burned like quiet witnesses. Captain Alara Wren stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her posture sharp as the hull she commanded. Her eyes tracked the distant glimmer of the Imperial dreadnought ahead, a monolith of tradition and tyranny. She felt neither fear nor hatred, only resolve. They would know soon enough. The galaxy had forgotten humanity. Now it would remember. "Status?" she asked calmly. Her XO, Commander Idris Vale, turned from his station. "We've made full exposure. Signal was received by the lead Imperial vessel. They scrambled fighters, raised shields, prepared to fire. Standard panic." "Expected," Alara said. Vale nodded. "Secondary fleet movements confirmed. They're trying to triangulate our origin. They won't find it." Alara gave a faint smile. "Good. Let them wonder." Behind her, the ship's core throbbed with living energy, a reactor not built, but grown. The Aegis was no product of factory lines or Imperial forges. It was the culmination of centuries of hidden evolution. Not a warship, but a statement, a legacy. 2 centuries ago, Earth burned. Not from war, but from apathy. The final transmissions received by the early Empire told of unrest, collapse, and silence. The newly risen Galactic Dominion had watched from afar, deeming humanity a failed experiment. Too volatile, too primitive. The records were sealed. The planet was labeled deceased. What they didn't know, what they couldn't imagine, was that humanity hadn't perished. It had adapted. In the chaos of Earth's decline, thousands fled. Secret colony ships vanished into uncharted voids, into dead sectors where ancient AI networks once warned of anomalies. The Empire never bothered to follow. Why chase ghosts when you already ruled the stars? But in the black, humanity changed. Survival demanded more than ships and solar panels. It demanded evolution, biotech, machine-mind integration, unity without control. Over time, the fractured survivors became something new. Not post-human, but deeply, purposefully human, refined by the crucible of isolation. They built the Aegis in the remains of a dark matter filament, its materials harvested from collapsed physics and whispered legends. It wasn't a weapon, it was a door, and today that door opened. Now Alara returned to her command chair, brushing her palm across the armrest. The surface pulsed beneath her skin, sensing her touch, reading her intent. "We were never gone," she murmured, "just hidden." Idris lowered his voice. "Do you think they'll listen?" "They'll react first, they always do. But listen, eventually." She paused. "They have to." He nodded slowly, then gestured to the display. "We've begun seeding low-frequency data streams into local networks. Historical correction packages, partial archives, visual logs from Earth's exodus. It'll spread." Alara looked up at the image of the Vigilance, still motionless. "They built their empire on ignorance," she said. "Their people never learned the truth of what we were, or what we became. That ends today." Aboard the Vigilance, Lieutenant Kasik stared at the projection. The figure that had appeared, their words, their presence, it unsettled him more than anything the Empire had ever faced. There was no bluster, no threat, just memory. "Commander," he said, breaking the silence, "requesting permission to pull deeper linguistic context from the signal. That dialect, it's from before the Empire, before unification." Yulin gave a distracted nod, her focus fixed on the long-range scans. "Do it. Anything we can get might help Command understand what we're dealing with." Kasik hesitated, then leaned in. "I don't think they're here to invade, ma'am." She gave him a sharp look. They appeared unannounced, overrode our systems, and now there are thousands of them. You call that peaceful? He swallowed. I don't know what to call it, but if they wanted us dead, we'd be vapor by now. Yulan didn't reply. Back on the Aegis. The display showed more Imperial worlds now reacting to the broadcast. Confusion, panic, and in some places, curiosity. Not all citizens were loyal to the Empire. Some remembered the old stories, the myths of Terra, the warnings scrawled on forbidden archives, the gods who walked before the stars. Ilara watched it unfold. Begin Phase 2, she ordered. We reach out, not to the rulers, to the forgotten. Vale raised a brow. Directly? She nodded. Encrypted packets, hidden channels, every rebel cell, every disenfranchised world, anyone with a spark left. Remind them of who we were. And who we are now. Ilara's eyes burned with intensity. Exactly. The Aegis drifted silently, a ghost of Earth's defiance, cloaked not in stealth but in myth. Its presence alone ruptured the illusion of empire. It was proof that the past hadn't died. It had simply evolved in the shadows, waiting for the moment to return. That moment had come, and across the stars, long-dormant minds stirred. The shuttle shivered as it detached from the vigilance. Gilded and angular, it was the Empire's most diplomatic face, an armored envoy cruiser, sleek but bristling with quiet menace. Inside, Ambassador Kyle Renar adjusted the cuffs of his formal robe, nerves hidden behind a mask of discipline. This is insane, muttered Commander Althus, piloting the vessel. We should be firing, not talking. Kale didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the ship ahead. The Aegis hovered in space like a myth come alive. Organic, alien, and utterly unknowable. It bore no insignia, no visible engines. Its surface shimmered, not reflecting starlight so much as warping it. No Imperial designer would have imagined such a form, because it wasn't meant to be understood. It was meant to exist. Approaching interface range, Althus announced. Still no response from their side. Cal took a breath and stepped toward the airlock. They spoke first. They'll speak again. He hoped. The air inside the receiving chamber was wrong. Not toxic, not hostile, just different. The walls were smooth and slightly warm, like flesh cooled by night air. Soft pulses of light ran through them, shifting with his footsteps. Kyle stepped alone into the chamber. Altus remained aboard the shuttle, weapons primed. Then the wall opened. Not like a door, more like a curtain of light being pulled aside. A figure stepped through, female, humanoid, perhaps mid-30s in appearance. But something in her eyes told Kale that appearances lied. She wore no armor, no crown, just a simple tunic with geometric embroidery woven in light. I am Captain Ilara Wren, she said. You are the first emissary of the Empire to set foot aboard a human ship in 200 years. Kyle's lips parted slightly. Human? Yes, she replied. We are the children of Earth, forgotten by your archives, exiled by your ancestors. We are what you thought you buried. He bowed slightly formal. Ambassador K.L. Renar, representative of the High Council. I come to speak, not to threaten. You couldn't threaten us, Ilara said gently, but I believe you come in peace. That's why I answered. They sat across from each other on raised platforms that molded to their shapes. Kale studied her movements, her calm. Nothing about this felt like a trap, but everything about it felt like a reckoning. You've disrupted military patrols, Kyle began. Entered protected space uninvited. Do you expect a warm welcome? Ilara tilted her head. We didn't come to be welcomed. We came to be acknowledged. Kyle frowned. You say you're human, but there's nothing familiar about you. That ship, your technology, it violates every known principle. That's because your empire only teaches what it controls, she said. We evolved without chains. We learned from the silence you left us in. He leaned forward slightly. What do you want? Her answer was immediate. Truth, restored history, and a galaxy that no longer hides behind propaganda. Kale's breath caught. You mean revolution? Ilara smiled, faint and distant. Number we mean revelation. Meanwhile, aboard the Vigilance, Commander Yulan watched the envoy's vitals flicker on her screen. Heart rate elevated. Neural activity spiked. Nothing dangerous. Just awe. Or maybe fear. Kasich approached. We're still receiving their passive telemetry. Still no signs of weapon systems? Yulan asked. None that match any known profile, Kasich replied. But the ship's hull seems reactive. It adapts. I think it remembers. Yulan blinked. Remembers what? He shrugged. Everything. Back on the Aegis, Kale stood slowly. You know this will cause panic, fear. The Council will see this as provocation. Ilara stood with him. Fear is a shadow cast by truth. You've ruled with it for too long. What happens next? She turned toward the wall, where a constellation display shimmered into view. Stars blinked across the chamber, each highlighted point pulsing softly. These are the systems we will visit next. Worlds with buried histories. People your empire left behind. You're spreading, Kyle said slowly. No, Ilara replied. We're returning. Kyle reboarded the shuttle in silence. Commander Althus didn't speak until they were halfway back to the Vigilance. Well, Kyle exhaled. She's human, but not like us. Not anymore. Althus grimaced. Are we at war? Kyle stared out the viewport. The Aegis was shrinking behind them, but he could feel it. Like it wasn't gone. Like it was inside his head now. I don't know, he said quietly, but I think the Empire's already lost something. And elsewhere, on a dozen border worlds, encrypted signals arrived in slums, on smuggler ships, in the back rooms of rebel dens. Messages in forgotten dialects, songs from Earth's past, visions of a starship drifting through void, speaking not with threats, but with memory. A voice played across them all, gentle and ancient. We were silent so the galaxy could forget. But silence is over. Imperial Space Command was built into the hollowed-out heart of a moon, a place where no sound reached the stars. But inside its obsidian walls, silence had never been more deafening. Grand Strategos Viral stood over the central holomap, watching the tendrils spread. Worlds lighting up with unknown data signatures. Fleets reporting erratic civilian behavior. Rebellion stirring from slumber. All triggered by one ship, one message. Play it again, he growled. The transmission flickered to life, replaying the calm voice from the Aegis. We did not come to conquer, we came to remind. Look past your fear, and you will see us as we are. What you were, before you forgot. Enough! Varel cut the feed with a gesture. They're destabilizing our sectors faster than any weapon ever could. Beside him, Admiral Riss watched with thinly veiled anxiety. They haven't fired a single shot. That is the weapon, Varel snapped. They're rewriting belief. He turned to face the assembled commanders. We must re-establish control. Begin sweeping disinformation campaigns. Label them extremists, digital ghosts, fabricated myths. I want their presence discredited on every sanctioned channel. Riss hesitated. What if that's not enough? Varel's jaw clenched. Then we prepare the Oblivion Mandate. Gas rippled across the chamber. You're suggesting total sector sterilization? A tactician stammered. I'm suggesting we remind the galaxy why fear of the Empire once held meaning. Far from the halls of power, in a settlement carved into the cliffs of a forgotten mining world, a boy sat watching stars through a cracked visor. He was no one special, just another orphan born under Imperial rule. Until the signal came. His comm unit, long thought broken, flickered with new life. A soft voice played, telling stories of Earth, of freedom, of strength through unity. Not dominance. He didn't understand every word, but he felt something stir inside. For the first time, he imagined a future that didn't wear a collar, and he wasn't alone. Aboard the Aegis, Ilara reviewed the cascade of responses. Over 100 colonies had received their message. Some replied in whispers, others with tears. A few had begun open defiance. All of it without a single plasma bolt fired. Idris stood at her side. Varel won't wait long. He's not wired for patience. I know, Ilara said. He'll lash out. The only question is where. Vale tapped the console, expanding an alert. Just got confirmation. Imperial broadcast centers have started flooding networks with countersignals, disinformation, fabrications about our origin. They're calling us a rogue AI cult. Ilara's gaze hardened. Expected. That means we're being felt. We also intercepted encrypted chatter from Sector 9, Idris added. Something called the Oblivion Mandate. Ilara turned slowly. They're considering planetary sterilization. Looks like it. Silence fell. Then we changed the rule, she said. It's time for the galaxy to see. On the far side of Imperial space, the Aegis arrived in low orbit above Itressa, an agricultural world known for its compliance. But this time, the people didn't run. They watched. 1,000 drones descended. They bore no weapons, only light. Projected above fields and rooftops, the sky became a memory theater. Footage from Earth's golden days, the fall, the exodus, children carrying hope through burning cities, the first human ships slipping into the void. The truth. People wept. Some cheered. Others stared, numb. But all of them saw. And when the Imperial patrol arrived, bristling and ready, no one moved. The population simply stood, hands raised unarmed, between the soldiers and the drones. For a moment, not even the Empire could fire. Back in his command chamber, Virel watched the feeds with shaking fists. They're not fighting us, they're changing us. From the inside. Admiral Riss spoke carefully. If we escalate, we validate their narrative. Tyrants silencing truth. Then what would you have us do? Virel barked. I'm saying maybe we need a different kind of strategy. Something quieter. Virel stared at him. Subterfuge, Riss nodded. Let the people think the ship is myth. Cut off the message. Target the minds, not the machine. Virel's silence this time was darker than rage. On the Aegis, Ilara watched a map of glowing stars. Are we doing the right thing? Idris asked quietly. She didn't look away. Truth always shakes the world before it rebuilds it. And if the Empire destroys that world first, Ilara finally turned to him, then we show them something they can't destroy. What's that? She smiled faintly. An idea. Across the stars, rebels awoke. Slaves lifted their heads. Children repeated stories once banned. And on worlds where the Empire had ruled unchallenged, people looked to the sky and wondered, what else had they forgotten? What else had they been meant to forget? And the silence, once so powerful, began to shift. Grand Strategos Virel stood before the council, robes sharp, expression sharper. Holograms flickered around him, dozens of systems aglow with unrest, broadcasts hijacked, patrols overwhelmed not by force, but by belief. The threat is no longer speculation, he said, voice clipped. The Aegis is not a lone actor, it is a catalyst. The message it carries is destabilizing planetary obedience protocols at an accelerating rate. Councillor Tharan narrowed his eyes. They haven't declared war. They don't need to, Virel shot back. They are undoing us, one whisper at a time. Councillor Avrix leaned forward, steepling his fingers. And your solution? We launch Spectre Protocol. Not fleet warfare, not sterilization, containment, covert asset deployment, targeted psychological disarmament. We silence the myth before it becomes a movement. The council murmured. It was cold, efficient, familiar, approved. Aboard the Aegis, the crew readied for their next descent. A planet named Luraxis, strategic, mid-tier, home to hundreds of thousands and key to Imperial mineral supply. But Ilara felt the change before any alert arrived. The silence, she muttered, eyes narrowing, has gone too still. Idris looked up from his console. We've lost 3 relay nodes in Sector 4. Blackouts, not natural interference. Jamming. Vale frowned. That fast? No transmission in, no data out. Ilara's expression darkened. Virel's pivoted. He's no longer trying to stop the signal. He's trying to erase the memory of it. Vale brought up Luraxis on screen. We should delay the landing. There could be... Ilara cut her off. If they're already there, waiting delay only gives them time to dig in. We go now. Truth spreads fastest under pressure. The shuttle dropped through heavy clouds above Luraxis. What should have been a warm reception, a growing crowd of curious, hopeful citizens, was eerily empty. "This feels wrong," Idris muttered. "No people. No guards. Not even drones." "It's bait," Ilara said softly. "But they don't know we see the hook." The moment their landing ramp opened, 6 figures in cloaked armor emerged from the haze. Empire-grade infiltration agents, specters, no insignia, no warning, just lethal intent. Weapons raised. But before the first shot was fired, a soft chime echoed, subtle, melodic. The Aegis, still in orbit, had activated an experimental defense. Harmonic distortion pulses. Non-lethal. Mind-fogging. Designed not to kill, but to distract, to disorient. The specters staggered, momentarily dazed. Ilara moved. A blinding flare launched from her wristband, followed by a cascade of sonic disruptions. Idris and Vale flanked her, covering both sides. In seconds, the specters were neutralized, alive but unconscious. Ilara knelt beside one of them. "You're not monsters," she whispered, "just tools used by one." Hours later, in a makeshift underground broadcast station hidden beneath the old Laraxis water grid, Ilara stood before the lens of a wide-beam emitter. She didn't speak to soldiers or politicians this time. She spoke to everyone. "This isn't rebellion," she said calmly. "It's remembrance. Your ancestors didn't build the empire to shackle their descendants. They dreamed of unity, of survival, of peace. Somewhere along the way, fear replaced vision." She paused, gaze steady. "But we are still here, and so are those dreams. The empire cannot erase what has already taken root inside you. It cannot unlearn the truth. It can only delay it." She stepped back. The feed spread like wildfire. Pirated, copied, smuggled into comm-nets the empire couldn't reach in time. And across dozens of worlds, silence cracked. In the command core on Eridanus Prime, Varel watched the broadcast replay with stone-cold fury. "They're dismantling us emotionally," said Riss beside him. "We're losing without a single starship destroyed." "Not yet," Varel snapped. "But now they've crossed a line." He tapped a code into the control panel. "Activate Scour Protocol. Select targets." Riss stiffened. "That's a planetary decapitation order." "No civilians," Varel clarified. "Only their voices, the ones speaking loudest." The screen filled with flagged names, minor leaders, dissidents, underground journalists, former Imperials who had defected to the cause, and, highlighted at the top, Ilara Wren. Back aboard the Aegis, Idris monitored the spikes in Imperial encryption. They're changing comm structures, rerouting satellites. This isn't just silence, it's surgical suppression. Ilara stared out the viewing deck at the stars. "They're afraid. More than I expected." "Should we go dark?" Vale asked. "Disappear for a while?" "No," Ilara said. "That's what they want. To paint us as phantoms, not people. We stay seen." She turned to the crew. "Start preparations. Not just for the next landing. For the first summit. It's time the scattered voices met each other." Driss blinked. "You're calling the factions together? But they don't trust one another." The summit was held in the Expanse, a drift zone between Imperial sectors, too remote to matter, too vast to fully monitor. Once it had been nothing but cosmic dust and forgotten comets. Now it was the heart of something new. The Aegis floated silently among dozens of vessels, each different. Scrap-built freedom crafts, decommissioned mining rigs, stealth-modified shuttles, and a few stolen Imperial skiffs. They came not for power, but for purpose. Inside the main chamber, Ilara stood before representatives from 29 rebel factions. Some bore ancient insignias, some none at all. Many had never met in person. All carried scars. "We are not here to crown a leader," she began. "We are here to build a mirror, so the galaxy sees what the Empire has hidden for generations." Some murmured approval, others remained cold. A former officer from the HFYFront spoke first. "The Empire will see this as treason." "It is," Ilara replied. "Treason against fear, against forgetting." A woman with soldered cybernetic limbs leaned forward. "What do we gain from unity? Half our people don't trust each other. Some of us fought on opposite sides before the Aegis showed up." Ilara didn't deny it. "History divided us. Truth can reconnect us. We can keep fighting in fragments, or we can build something the Empire can't isolate. Their power thrives on silence. So we speak, together. Slowly, tension began to crack, not vanish, but soften. And somewhere in the background, a storm of signals started to light up across the stars. Grand Strategos Virel watched from his command platform as chaos bloomed. Encrypted comms leaked. Planetary governors went dark. Entire garrisons defected or refused direct orders. Even loyalists were hesitating. "Collapse," Virel hissed, "without a single warship destroyed." Admiral Riss entered, eyes grim. "The summit happened. They're calling it the Dawn Accord. They've opened relay nodes in 12 systems, streaming stories, names, unredacted history, and one more thing." He paused, handed Virel a datapad. Ilara's face appeared, calm, defiant. "We do not want a throne. We want a future. One not owned, but chosen. The Empire calls this chaos. We call it remembering." Virel crushed the pad in his hand. "Then they'll remember the price of defiance." He turned. "Initiate Skyfall Array. Bring down one of their relay worlds. Not military, not hidden. A public colony." Riss flinched. "Sir, that crosses—" "Do it!" The planet Calavan was small, peaceful, known for its orchards and open-air learning circles. One of the first to receive the Aegis signal. It had no ships, no defense grid, just people. And suddenly an artificial moon in its sky blinked to life. A weapon platform. The Empire's message was clear, but before the Skyfall Array could fire, the heavens changed. Not with warships, but shields. Dozens of craft arrived in formation, weaving energy barriers across the upper atmosphere. Rebel vessels, smugglers, ex-Imperial techs. Civilian engineers who had once built for control, now building for defense. The shot never landed. The Skyfall Array powered down, confused by redirected signals and sabotage relays. The Empire's unstoppable strike had been intercepted, not by force but by coordination, not by might but meaning. Aboard the Aegis, the bridge erupted with reports. "Calavan stands. No confirmed casualties. The shield net held, barely." Ilara nodded, her eyes sharp. "This is the pivot point," Idris said. "No," she replied. "This is the ignition." She tapped the console, beginning a wideband transmission. "To every world watching, this is proof. Proof that unity can defend what domination never could. That together we can choose what comes next." The signal spread like solar fire, reflected, echoed, translated, and the stars began to turn. In the shadows of his war room, Virel stood alone. Even Riss had gone silent. Across his screens, footage of Calavan's defense replayed in endless loops, and everywhere a symbol was rising. Not a flag, not a weapon, a spark. Something ancient and stubborn. Hope. Virel knew then. He could destroy ships. He could erase files. But he could not kill an idea once it had reached the hearts of billions. Not unless he scorched every world. And even then, it would smolder. Weeks later, in a school rebuilt from the bones of an old Imperial checkpoint, a child raised her hand. "Who were the first to remember?" The teacher smiled. "No one knows for sure. Some say it was the Aegis. Others say it was the ones who listened." "Why didn't the Empire stop them?" The teacher thought for a long moment, then answered softly. "Because they weren't fighting a war. They were ending one.